Just when I thought I was out, you pull me back in. So you spent all this time memorizing different chord progressions, and you memorize all the major scales, minor pentatonic, major pentatonic. But there comes a time where you have to actually use them and be able to play a solo and work through the chord changes. So today we are going to use the Rolling Stones' Honky Tonk Woman as our vehicle to navigate through chord changes with our guitar solos. So strap in and grab your guitar. We'll hop right in. My name is Keith. Welcome back to the channel. Okay, before we start, let's talk about the gear. For this song, I'm using just a standard run-of-the-mill Fender Telecaster running through a clean channel on my Fender Super Champ XD. As far as pedals go, all I have on is a compressor pedal and a transparent overdrive to get that crunchy sound. So let's talk about the song. So the song, I divided it up into 16 bars for the verse, and in order to get through the solo, I'm going to divide that up into 4 bars a piece, so 4 sets of bars that we're going to run through the solo, and we're going to dive down into where all the notes come from in this solo. So let's hop down and go right through it. Alright, so you see all the chords up on the screen now, but we're going to concentrate on the first 4 bars. So the first 4 bars are a G, and a C, and a C. So here's what I did for those first 4 bars. Okay, so what exactly am I doing here? So let's concentrate on this first section here. What are the notes in here? The notes that I just played are all within the G major pentatonic scale. Now, how do I know that and how did I find that? When I'm looking at this, I am looking at this D-shaped G right here. That triad there is a D shape on the 7th fret. It's where we start, and that's a G. Now that indicates to me that the root note is on the B string, and then whenever I see a root note on the B string, I'm automatically thinking this shape, the C shape. That's our G in a C shape right here, starting on the 7th fret. And then from there, I have the G major pentatonic scale. All right, and let's take that a little further. So if I wanted to go from there, all the notes that I just played there, that solo that I did there, all within that G major pentatonic scale. Now let's move on to the next section when we get to the 2 C's. Alright, I'm not really thinking scale at this point, I'm thinking more chord, because I know I'm playing 2 C's in a row. If I look at this C here, and isolate it down to the triad on the middle 3 strings, the D, G, and B strings, that is our C triad. So I'm doing this little Rolling Stones, Keith Richards type lick. That's just keeping my index finger anchored down right here on the 5th fret, and then just going up and down on the B string. And that would complete that first set of bars, the first 4 bars, the G, G, and the C, and the C. Let's move on to the next set. So the next set, right after I did this little, I'm doing this little run here. Alright, right, so what exactly am I doing there? I'm moving up with a set of 6, so we have a G and an A to begin with. So I'm moving up from the G to an A. Now, what do I mean by 6? So these are 6 intervals apart. The 4th fret of the G string and the 3rd fret of the E string. And then move it up here as a kind of like chromatically moving up to the A. So if I'm thinking about it this way, and by the way, I have a 6 video all about 6. It's Bon Jovi's Wanted Dead or Alive, so I would recommend watching that. I'll link it up here. So when I'm looking at this 6 right here, I'm thinking G. Then I'm looking at this one on the 5th fret, I'm thinking A. So I'm chromatically moving up. And then I'm going, we're ending on a D, right? The last 2 chords are D, and we have a D chord right here. All right, so if I look at that D, that right there is the D major pentatonic scale, but in diagonal form. So if I have the D here, I have the D major scale. That's the pentatonic D major, but if I wanted to do the pentatonic diagonal, do it that way instead, all those notes right here. And that's all there is to it. That's our 2 Ds to finish out that set of bars. Now the next set is a G and a G and a C and a C. Now this is where we get to the minor pentatonic scale. So I'm going, then I'm moving right down to this. All right. The cool thing about this is now I am not doing a major pentatonic scale, rather I'm doing a G minor pentatonic scale for those first 2 bars within this set. So the G minor pentatonic scale is right there. So I'm doing a little Chuck Berry lick. And that's just pulling up on the G string 5th fret and then barring down on the B and the E string. That's how you get that Chuck Berry sound. And then I'm ending right here and then moving up to the 6 again. We just talked about 6, and that's how I'm kind of ending it with the C's. Not necessarily a chord, not necessarily a scale, but it works when you wanted to move down from that G to C, back down. Let's talk about that for a second. When we're doing the 6 here, I am having my, what is this? The G string on the 9th fret fretted down, but then the 8th fret is where I'm fretting down on the E string. And then I slide that back, 7th fret G string, 6th fret E string, and then I slide that back down. But when I get to the 5th fret, both the G and the E strings are fretted down on that 5th fret, and the same thing with the E. And that rounds up that set of bars. Now let's move on to the final set right here. So what did I do there? Alright, so this is another pretty cool thing here. The G major pentatonic scale is how I'm starting off this guy right here. That whole section there. Here's the G major pentatonic scale. Oh, okay, so we're getting somewhere there, because when I'm starting that little run there, I'm starting it from this A string on the 5th fret, and then ending right here on the G string 2nd fret, but quickly sliding up to the 3rd fret, and then hitting that B string on the 3rd fret, and that sets me right back up for a G minor pentatonic kind of little lick here. then end on that G. That's the 5th fret of the D string is a G. Because we're in the G chords right over here. There's one D at the beginning, but for the most part we're playing a G. So we're gonna end on that G to resolve it, right? And then we're gonna take this. That's all part of the G major pentatonic scale again, but instead of vertically this way, we're going horizontally across this way with the G major pentatonic scale in diagonal form. So it's and ending on that G, right? The only thing that's outside of that scale is when I hit this on the 9th or the 8th fret of the D string, but I'm quickly going back. Now the reason we're doing that is just to make it sound a little different. And that ends that solo. So let's do the whole thing one time real quick without the background. All that work just for that little solo, but it's really fun once you get down to the whole thing. Now, I do realize that this is a lot of information, a lot of charts, and a lot of diagrams, but the thing that I wanted to kind of get across here is when you're thinking about these chord progressions and how to solo over them, instead of thinking purely and strictly off the beginning of just guitar scales, think about the chords, right? So I know, for example, that we're starting off with 2 G's and 2 C's in there, so I'm sticking with that G major pentatonic scale. And it doesn't have to be here, it could be anywhere on the guitar, but for this purpose, all the G major, then the C chord, so I'm doing a C there, and that's what I'm targeting. And the same thing you could apply up and down through the chord changes. So that's kind of how I wanted to illustrate this whole thing. Think of the chords, and then think of creative ways to play within those chords and to move in and out of them. Now, one thing that you do want to know is that you don't have to switch up the scale or whatever you're doing based off of the chord. It'll be a lot to process. Sometimes you could just use one scale across a whole chord progression and things will sound nice still. So take that into account. But the key here is just experimenting and making mistakes and having fun with the whole thing. That's the whole purpose of this. So if you thought this was helpful at all, please like, subscribe, and share. And most importantly, leave a comment. If you liked it, put something down. If you didn't like it, let me know how I could improve here. So I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you later. Thanks.